What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and when you see the blue walls and the shaky cam, you know it's time for one possible thing. A nice, crappy quality ghetto unboxing. So what are we unboxing today anyway? Well, if you've been keeping up, you know that ever since the release of Ultra Street Fighter 2 on Nintendo Switch, I decided to get big back into fighting games. Not just specifically Ultra Street Fighter 2, but just in general. And I picked up a Sega Saturn a couple of months ago as well, and I've also been wanting to get into Sega Saturn stuff. Mainly because, yes, there's a lot of fighters on there, but there's also a lot of good arcade style games and just a decent amount of quality games on there anyway. So, when it came across the option of getting this product, I decided to jump on it because what did I want to do? Well, I wanted to play some games. I wanted to play some stuff like Street Fighter Alpha, Warrior's Dreams, aka Street Fighter Zero. I wanted to play me some Street Fighter Alpha 2. What way is the best way to play games like these on a Sega Saturn? Well, realistically, there's one thing you need, and because I'm setting up my Sega Saturn as we speak, or at least I was until I decided to do this, I figured it would be the best time to actually do it. And for the simple reason is I got this a few weeks ago, haven't even opened it, and there's a little bit of a twist on it versus, just what the product actually is. So, what is this and why does it make it special? Well, what this is a Sega Saturn Virtua stick, or the Sega Saturn arcade stick. Now this is the official one, and the reason why, it's like, okay, it's an arcade stick, anyone's made one of these. The reason why I'm doing this is because this has never been opened. That's right, I got this from a factory liquidation, which means there were over 100 of these. I saw a picture of it. There were over 100 of these stacked high at the time when I bought this one. And they were just leftover stock in an electronics warehouse in the US. I should make a note, this is the US version. It works here in Europe because it's an arcade stick. The peripherals all work cross-region, so there's no problem with that. Just to double check, I had a quick Google online, it gave me the info I needed, but I went to a reputable source just to be extra sure. Got in contact with RGT85 on Twitter, and I asked him. He's got a decent reputation for Sega Saturn stuff and his knowledge on them, so he confirmed it to me that yes, a US stick would work on an EU PAL Sega Saturn. I was good to go. So I got this a few weeks ago, haven't even opened it, but the fact that I'm doing it is just because it's literally, well, since it's been in my possession and it was sold to me as new, yeah, let's hope for the best. So, what do we got on the front at least anyway? We got all our key buttons. We got our 6 buttons, A, B, C, or our 6 face buttons, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, LR shoulder buttons. We got a start. We have what looks like some sort of turbo and a speed switch of some sort. Again, probably turbo. Obviously, it's got one stick. The Sega Saturn only had a D-pad, so it makes sense. You can see, as it's new and it's just been sitting around, there's a very, very minor wear and tear around the edges of the box, which is all pretty good. So before we get around to opening it, top of the box just says Sega Saturn. That's a nice little scratchy sound. Side, Sega Saturn, Sega Saturn. Okay, Sega Saturn. So let's take a quick look at the back of the box. So we've got all the usual stuff. It recommends Virtua Fighter, which doesn't surprise me whatsoever. It recommends Virtua Fighter 2. And then obviously they've got more with the stick itself. Bring the arcade experience home, a must-have for Virtua Fighter and Virtua Fighter 2. Arcade style joystick comes complete with rapid fire switches and 8 action buttons, compatible with all Sega Saturn games. So the big thing is, that's what we learned a little bit on there. So those are rapid fire switches. Let's take one quick look at the front. Yet again, I'm not sure how it works. I'm not sure if they've got like 1 or 2 different notches to possibly press 1 or 2 different times, but we'll see. We'll see. So let's let this focus and let's get this bad boy open. The cool thing is, yes, that it does work not just with fighting games, so that's going to be nice for any arcade style game. So what have we got? It's obviously going to be harder to see from the camera than it is myself. So that's the connector, the actual controller port. Nice and perfect condition. Just what I was happy with. So let me get that back up. Okay, well, this is technically my second arcade stick. I bought one back in the day on the Xbox 360. It was a cheap one. It was made by Hori, but it was a very cheap one just to play a couple of arcade games. And funny enough, I think it was Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting or HD Remix, as well as a couple of arcade games like Metal Slug and all on there as well. So that was fine, but that was so long ago, I just can't remember. Now, how am I going to do this? Okay, we're going hands-free for a second. Let's see how I can do this without dismantling the box. I don't know what I was actually expecting to be in here. So we'll set that aside for 1 second. We have the paper. Wow, that is old school paperwork. Old school registration paperwork. Holy crap. Remember when you used to get registration cards? Now it's all online, but wow. The following information applies to the primary player. I guess that's me. I am the primary player. So, yeah, I'm not expecting what... I'm not sure what else I should have been expected to be in here. Let's just move the box just aside for a moment. I'm going to go back to the actual arcade stick. So let's get this off. I don't want to drop it or anything like that. Okay. So we'll set those two cardboard inserts aside for a second. And let's get this stick out. It's actually, okay, I just noticed something that I'll talk about in a second. So let's take a quick look at the actual stick itself. So, a little bit of dust, as expected. It's just been sitting in a box for, what, like 15 years? So, okay, so let's take a quick look. So now, the first thing I noticed is the weight when I was taking it out. So, yeah, you just heard that. That's a pretty good indicator of the weight. It actually has a metal base that I was not expecting. I was expecting this to be all plastic, and even though it's an arcade stick, yes, they generally have metal bases to give them some form of stability when you're actually playing them so they don't fly around whenever you're doing everything. Because it's an official Sega one, I didn't think they'd actually go the extra mile and do that. I thought it would be light and, I won't say cheap, but I thought it would just be light. I didn't think they'd put anything in that to counteract the actual movement from when you're playing on it. So we've got our start button. Fair enough, there's not too much to worry about that. What I am interested in is the quality and the clickiness of these face buttons. Wait a minute. I can't tell if, I don't know if you can hear it. It seems to be, okay, it stopped. Maybe it's just getting used to actually being pressed. So, because what happened was, when I was pressing the R button, it felt like there was a little bit of a vibration somewhere. I couldn't tell if it was the button or something, maybe like the panel or something inside it. But overall, I really like the feel of all the buttons, especially the L button. I really like the feel of all the buttons except the Z button for some reason. Now that could change over time of actually using it. Maybe it's just because it's all new and fresh. But let's see what else we have. So this is our speed. Okay, so it's not a notched switch. It actually, like you can mount, like I can leave it there. Just a tiny bit, edge it up. Whatever I want. I can put it anywhere on that. So I'm going to have to see how that actually functions speed-wise. And these are our turbo, what were they called? Turbo switches, speed switches? Rapid fire switches, I believe they were called. So it looks like there's two settings on these. So I'm going to assume that down is obviously 1, it's a single press. whereas up will be a double press. It might be more, it might be, considerably more, it might be just more than 2, but we'll see how it goes. Now, 2 other things I just want to double check on this is the controller length. Now, let me see if I can do this correctly. So let me go again. It's all tied up in a weird way. There it is. So the controller length it's about 2 meters, I'd say. It's a bit hard to tell. Maybe like 1.8, but there's no point in me doing this back up because I'm actually going to play with this stick now in a moment. As soon as I finish doing this, we've got our connector. It's a standard Sega Saturn connector. Not really much to note on there. But yeah, so we're missing one key thing. The stick. Okay. So there's one thing I'm not liking about this stick already. Well, there's 2 actually. It's very noisy. And not in a good way. That's one of the issues I'm having. It's like you can hear everything creak when I move it around. And the other that I'm kind of unhappy that they omitted from this stick is that usually on arcade sticks, when, say you press right, you'll hear a click to essentially know that you've pressed the button. I realize you know that you've moved it right, you moved it left, you moved it up, down, left, whatever. But on the previous arcade sticks I've used, as well as my own old 360 one, that like when you go, it will click, 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 click. Now, there is one essentially here at the moment, but it just feels like it's the creak of the actual stick and the creak of the controller panel, rather than an actual digital. Well, I said digital click, but these sticks are digital, so the fact that it's click. Because no, by the way, these are not analog sticks. An arcade stick is digital, not analog. That's something that a lot of people don't realize. But I'm a bit unhappy that they omitted we'll call it the feedback click. But that's it. That is the Sega Saturn official arcade stick. Heavier than I expected. It seems to be generally better build quality than expected, even if there was the 1 or 2 slight issues I originally had with the R button, which seems to be cleared up now. The Z button still feels like it presses a little bit lighter than every other button, and I don't know if I want to call it the creakiness or the creakiness of the stick, but who knows, maybe when I'm actually playing I'll just be so engrossed I won't even notice it and it won't be an issue whatsoever. Other than that, I do wish there was some sort of feedback on the stick with the whole click aspect when you move, or some sort of feedback on it. But it is what it is and there's not much we can do about it. Again, I'll probably, once I start playing, I'll probably not even notice it. And yeah, that's it. Let's get good. Let's get going into some Street Fighter Alpha 2, although I will start with Alpha 1 or Warrior's Dream or Alpha Zero, whatever you want to call it. And that's it. So that has been the unboxing of the Sega Saturn arcade stick. Yes, in 2017, a new, as far as I know, unopened product, sold as new from a warehouse, an electronics warehouse liquidation. So yeah, that's going to be nice and interesting. I'm going to see how this one works and holds up to my Xbox 360 Hori stick instead of this official Sega stick. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.